Good evening. Mr. Clerk, do you have everything you need?
I do have everything I need, thank you. Do you have everything you need?
We'll find out right away, won't we?
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, let's give it just 30 more seconds here for folks hopping on, and then I'll call to order. So stand by for roll call. Okay, good. I found what I think I need. So I'm going to call us to order and begin by recognizing that today's non-regular council meeting is coming to you live from Treaty 6 territory, the traditional territory of the Cree, the Dene, the Saulteaux, the Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot peoples, as well as one of the great homelands of the Métis Nation and one of the largest communities of Inuit south of the Arctic Circle. So in that spirit of welcome and cooperation, I'm very glad to welcome a number of our boards and authorities, chairs and vice chairs, or co-chairs as the case may, or past chairs. We've got a bit of a hodgepodge here tonight to present to council your annual reports, and in some cases 2 years worth of material because of delays in COVID. So we're glad to have you all here. I will now roll call to establish attendance for members of council, starting this time with Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Welcome. Councillor Knack.
Good evening.
Evening. Councillor McKean.
I am here.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
It's good to hear your voice. Councillor, I won't ask how you're doing, but I'm glad that you're here. Councillor Nickel. Councillor Nickel.
He doesn't appear to be signed into the meet, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay. Councillor Paquette. Councillor Paquette.
Neither does Councillor Paquette.
How about Councillor Walters? Councillor Walters?
No sign of him in the meet.
Okay. Oh, he had texted me to let me know he'd be a touch late. So Councillor Walters, I've heard from. Councillor Banga?
I am here, sir.
Fantastic. I was getting worried there for a minute. Councillor Carmel?
Good evening.
Indeed. Councillor Katarina?
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Councillor Zadig?
I'm here, thank you.
Yay. Councillor Essinger?
Good evening.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton?
Good evening.
Great. Well, that's 10, so we can get moving. I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Essinger?
I'm happy to move the agenda for the non-regular council meeting, and we have a number of additions. 6.1, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, and 6.6.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Banga, for the second. If there are no questions on the agenda, let's vote, please.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Let's see if eScribe will work for us here.
I know mine doesn't.
We have all the votes now, Mr. Chair.
Display the vote, please. Carried unanimously among those present. Okay, so we're very much here to hear all of the items on our agenda, so we'll deem them all selected. We have no additional requests to speak besides the delegations that are here to present to us. We'll go in order, so no time specifics. Are there any councillor inquiries tonight? Seeing any, then let us begin with the first of our presentations tonight from the Edmonton Combative Sports Commission. I have Daniela O'Callaghan and Sandy Pujega. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Mr. Mayor, I have to give you kudos. No one ever pronounces my last name correctly, so that was quite nice, actually. I am Sandy Bajaya. I am with the Edmonton Combative Sports Commission, and I had the pleasure of serving as chair in 2019 and 2020. With me, I have Ms. Daniela O'Callaghan, who is now our current chair, but was our vice chair for that period of time. So I'll give a little introduction to the commission, and I'll keep my comments brief. The Edmonton Combative Sports Commission is a council committee created by City of Edmonton's bylaw, Combative Sports Commission bylaw. The commission is one of 3 parties that works together to regulate combative sports in Edmonton. Of course, the other 2 parties are City Council and City Administration through the designated officer position of the Executive Director. The role of the commission in controlling and regulating combative sports in Edmonton is limited to matters of governance, meaning we set regulations which apply to professional combative sports. The commission's mandate does not include operational matters or oversight of operational responsibilities. In addition to serving as a governance body, the commission also serves as an appeal body for decisions of the executive director. So that's just a little bit of an introduction. Oh. Looks like I lost my connection. Am I still being heard?
Yep, carry on. Can you hear us, Sandy? We can still hear you. Keep going, Sandy. Keep it coming.
So I'm getting a text from Daniela that you can hear me. So I'll hopefully keep going and hopefully I am being heard. So I'll talk a little bit about 2019. 2019 was a very productive year for the Edmonton Combative Sports Commission. That year saw the commission make a number of important connections and relationships with the combative sports community. Part of the outreach was an extension of the commission's policy review work, and part of the outreach happened a little more organically as commission members attended commission-sanctioned events and had the opportunity to connect with members of the community that way. The COVID-19 pandemic meant that 2020 was a challenging year. This will not be a surprise for anyone.
Ooh, okay. Now we lost Sandy. Let's pause for a minute. If we can't get her back, then maybe we can proceed to item 6.2 and then get some support for Sandy and see if we can get back going. But we'll give it another minute here. Just stand by. Well, we will need Sandy to proceed, I think, unless Daniela, if you want to take over, or if you prefer, we can see if we get Sandy back on the line and come back to you.
So it appears that Sandy is having some technical difficulties and she's trying to reconnect. So my preference is that I'd suggest that we move on to 6.2 as Sandy tries to reconnect.
Great. Well, I'll just check to see if that works for members of council. Any objections to bringing forward 6.2, the Community Services Advisory Board? Have we got who we need on the line for that? Nancy Zuck and Priti Ladaroute, the Vice Chair.
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Well, if they're ready to go, they might, this might be catching them slightly by surprise, but if they are ready to proceed, let's.
Mr. Mayor, I have been able to reconnect. My apologies. I'm not sure what happened to my connection.
No problem. We'll keep going on your item, Ned. Thanks for getting back in, and we can hear you now. You can hear us.
I can hear you. I gave a great speech. I'm so sorry you missed it all. It was riveting and funny, and it's just a shame. Can't be reproduced. But I will give a quick summary. Hopefully my introduction was heard and the little bit about the commission. So I'll just jump into 2019 with a little bit of an overview. It was a very productive year for the commission. The main portion of work for that year was really the ongoing policy review, and we are switching to the term regulation now. The commission also was able to do a lot of outreach to the combative sports community in that year, both as an extension of that policy work and also in terms of attending sanctioned events. So there were some good relationships being forged with the community. 2020, this will be no surprise, COVID has been pretty devastating to the combative sports community. Events are simply not possible, and there's a lot of uncertainty for people who are part of that community, as well as people who take part in promoting and putting on these events. What the future holds in terms of a return to sport is still something that is unknown. So there is a lot of uncertainty and concern with that, and a lot of frustration. I think there's also an impact in terms of the officials that work these events because they don't have as many training opportunities, and pragmatically speaking, they're not able to take part in events and practice being officials. So that's been some of the negative. Despite these uncertain times, the Commission has continued to push forward with much of its work related to the policy review project. But the pandemic does introduce some new challenges as we look forward to 2021. One of the key things we were looking at doing in 2021 is stakeholder engagement in the revised policies or regulations that we have managed to prepare and are ready to do some engagement on. So this is something that the Commission will be working towards and thinking about this year, something we're already engaged in. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the contributions of all the Commission members. We have 7 Commission members. We have a full complement now. And I'd also like to acknowledge the efforts and support of City Administration, particularly the Executive Director, Troy Cordarelli, and Tracy Poberzinik. My report that was included in your agenda packet includes a summary of the work completed in 2019 and 2020, as well as a copy of the 2021 work plan, which is well underway. I would be very happy to take any questions from members of council at this time.
Well, thank you for the presentation and for all of your efforts during this difficult time, and for persevering with your connectivity. So questions from Councillor McKean, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. Thanks for your presentation. Feels like a long time since we've seen you folks. What I wondered about was you have now made efforts to get to know the people in the community better, it sounds like, in the combative sports community. And I just wanted to ask you, how do you do that for the sake of your own knowledge, to make you better commissioners, but also you got to stay, I would think, a bit detached from the community as well. Has that been difficult for you?
Thank you, Councillor McKean, for the question. Through you, Mayor Iverson, to Councillor McKean. I think that's a great question. You know, the Commission does have a governance role, and we must be mindful of our role as governors. But I think there are a lot of appropriate ways that we can connect with various different groups involved in combative sports. I think one of the most critical things is being seen, ensuring that commission members attend the events that are sanctioned by the commission. The commission members sit ringside. It's very noticeable if the commission members are not there. We've reached out to a number of the event officials. We've held engagement sessions that are sort of semi-formal. And we've sort of ensured that when we're engaging with them, it's about questions pertaining to the commission that the commission is undertaking to understand and seeking their feedback and listening. I think reaching the fighter community is a little more challenging. That's something that the commission will really need to think through in 2021, because that's when we want to seek feedback on the revised regulations or policies that we have prepared. But I think there are appropriate ways of doing that engagement and just maintaining the right tone and relationship when we do have those opportunities to network with people.
Great answer. Thank you, Sandy. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, we can't hear you.
I'm out of practice. Councillor McKean, would you mind moving receipt of information?
I would be happy to move receipt.
Need a seconder.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Mack, I think. Anyone wishing to speak? I'll just say briefly, thank you so much to both of you, and please pass to all of your colleagues on the commission our thanks for your efforts, and we'll look forward to being able to resume this kind of activity at some point. But it's important to have the function in place, and in the meantime, and be ready for when we can have some fun again. So anyway, thank you for joining us tonight to make your presentations, and appreciate your service on the commission.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. Now, if there's no one wishing to speak, please vote on receipt of information of item 6.1.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Katerina.
Yes, from Councillor Paquette.
And we have all the votes. Thank you.
Display the vote. Carried unanimously. And we've been joined by Councillor Paquette. Excellent. So now we'll start on the Community Services Advisory Board. Nancy, are you there?
I am. Thank you.
Go ahead. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Nancy Zook, and I'm the outgoing chair of the Community Services Advisory Board, better known as CSAB. Our vice chair, Pretty, is here with me as well, Pretty Laderoux, and Judy Smith, the director of community resources as well. So thank you for having us. We hope to not encounter the same glitches the earlier presentation did, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. We're pleased to deliver the CSAB annual report for both 2019 and 2020, which outlines all of the positive impacts that have been realized over the past 2 years through the Family and Community Support Services Program, also known as FCSS, the Community Investment Operating Grant, also acronymed CIOG, and the advisory board itself. So just want to run through some of the highlights of our annual report, because we haven't had the chance to come and present to you for the past 2 years. FCSS is really one of our flagship programs of CSAB. It's, for those that don't know, it's a municipal provincial partnership that works to ensure Alberta communities support individuals, families, and communities through preventive social programs and services. This joint funding is used for programs and services that do one or more of the following things. They help people develop independence. strengthen coping skills and become more resistant to crisis, all things that have shown to be extremely important in the past year. Build awareness of social needs, support people in developing skills to have healthy relationships with others, help individuals and communities assume responsibility for decisions and actions that affect them, and provide supports that help people participate in the community. So all actions that are strongly aligned to the city outcomes. A subcommittee of CSAB is responsible for providing oversight and setting direction and making recommendations to provide $20 million in funding to the not-for-profit organization and partnerships that deliver these preventive social services. I'd like to highlight some of our program statistics for you and some of the outcomes that have been realized by the core FCSS programs. In 2019, FCSS funding was provided to 70 agencies and supported over 100 programs that were delivered in our city. Over 209,000 Edmontonians were served through these programs. And in 2020, FCSS funding was provided to 69 agencies and supported 98 programs, serving over 190,000 Edmontonians. Obviously, those numbers shift a little bit as services had to be redesigned in light of COVID. So numbers down, understandably, a little bit in 2020. FCSS programs across the province report on standardized outcomes. So there's an outcomes framework that has been delivered or has been set provincially, and all FCSS programs must report on similar outcomes so that these can be collated in a provincial snapshot of what's being achieved can be presented. In Edmonton, the FCSS program and the United Way work together on these common outcomes. And the reason for that is it lessens the burden on our non-for-profit sector so that they can report consistent outcomes through multiple funding mechanisms. These outcomes are aligned and support the achievement of the city outcomes, and they include reporting on the resilience of individuals, and meaning that individuals have the ability to bounce back from challenges and the stress they face. They report on families thriving, meaning that they're overcoming challenges and learning. They report on communities being welcoming and engaging, meaning they're open, diverse, and inclusive. They report on outcomes related to connections and relationships, which result in strong and supportive communities where people can thrive and contribute. The outcome achievements of FCSS are outlined on pages 11 and 12 of our report, and the 2020 achievements are reported on pages 25 and 26. What's striking is that based on these outcomes, outcome data that's provided, we can conclude a few really interesting and impressive statistics. So over 56,000 children and youth have improved their developmental skills through the funding that's provided by FCSS. Over 57,000 children and youth have improved their skills to address their identified, or have improved their skills to address their identified skills. So we believe that the FCSS programs are important contributors to building strong and resilient communities where Edmontons belong, contribute, and thrive, again, aligned with the city outcomes. I also just want to note that many of the FCSS funded agencies work in collaboration and partnership to ensure that our citizens are getting the services and support that they need. This has been an integral part of the program for many years, and to be honest, it's an expectation of CSAB. Non-for-profit organizations can't be working in isolation and silos, and this is a fundamental strength of the funding. Secondly, I'd just like to highlight how incredibly resilient, innovative, and adaptive the FCSS funded agencies were during this year of COVID. The nonprofit sector in our city showed their strength in adapting their service delivery models, coordinating services in an integrated fashion unseen in the past. While no one would ever wish for a global pandemic, it was a system disruptor that made agencies reimagine and adapt. It's our hope that new and effective methods of supporting Edmontonians emerged, and where they did, they'll be sustained into the future. This is also a testament of the strength of the social service agencies in our community and their ability to provide the right support in the right way and the right time. In addition to the funding that was distributed through FCSS, CSAB also dispersed over $3.6 million in both 2019 and 2020 from the Community Investment Operating Grant. This grant provides operating assistance to nonprofit organizations whose primary mandates include social services, multicultural activities, and recreation and amateur sport. To help them provide programs and service and activities that benefit citizens of Edmonton. Feedback from our agencies, our funded agencies, indicates that this operating grant or operating grants of this kind are precious in helping them to sustain these organizations and their programs. So a few just statistics on CIOG. In 2019, CIOG supported 294 organizations in our city. In 2020, CIOG supported the operations of 278 organizations in our community. As you're aware, we're now in the process of reviewing this program. Council motion has asked us to reimagine CSAB and ensure it aligns with the goals and outcomes of the social development branch of the city. That work is well underway, and we hope to bring something back to council late summer, early fall to address the motion that's been provided to CSAB. Lastly, I just want to highlight the role that CSAB provides in providing advice to the city and the council to assist in long-term planning for community services in Edmonton. CSAB brings a rich community perspective to the programs, plans, and issues that affect the quality of life of Edmonton, from an approach to supporting senior centers to also providing input on the neighborhood revitalization approach and abundant communities. A full list of all of the topics that CSAB advised on are outlined on page 3 of our report. Over the past year, CSAB has worked as a board and with the city to develop a more structured approach to this advisory role. We're confident that the model we've developed will position the board in a way to offer significant value to the city. The process has also enabled stronger reporting, will also enable stronger reporting on the impact of CSAB on the long-term planning for community services in Edmonton. I just want to close by thanking and commending all the members of CSAB. Each brings a unique perspective and appreciation for the importance of preventive social services and a deep dedication to the city. It's been an honor to be a chair of such a strong advisory board for the past 2 years. And lastly, we'd like to thank and acknowledge the generous support CSAB receives from citizen services staff. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Nancy, for the presentation and for the tremendous work that CSAB does. And it's been harder to do this important work virtually, of course. So thank you for your resilience and your leadership with the group through this tough time. So questions for you. First up, Councillor Bega.
Thank you. Thanks, Nancy. And yeah, wonderful report there. And I just wanted to pick your brains on when you get an application from an organization, how do you evaluate, or what sort of criteria you use whether an organization is what we need the city to be investing in?
So we receive applications both for the CIOG process as well as the FCSS process. Both of these granting, the operating grant and FCSS have specific eligibility criteria that are publicized and shared with all of the nonprofit organizations and used to assess the applications that come in. They range from everything from looking at their governance structure to whether they meet the specifications in the policy, to everything, as I spoke about, the need to have them partner and be working in partnership with their fellow agencies in the community. So the criteria for those two grants are distinct and are aligned with the policies that are set by the city as well as the province. Judy, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Thanks, Nancy. The only other thing, Councillor Banga, is that as you're aware, the Community Investment Operating Grant is being reviewed. We're also doing a review of the FCSS program and building a new framework with priorities that better align with the new city plan and also with the outcomes that the Social Development Branch is trying to achieve as well. So things will change in that area to make it more aligned with what we're trying to achieve in the city.
Okay, and some of the organizations, they're also being supported provincially and also by CIOG and FCSS. In awarding, I guess, dollars or help to these organizations, is the provincial, I guess, grants they get, is that any consideration in there? Or maybe, so that we could probably help more people instead of the same organizations?
Maybe I'll start and Judy, you can jump in. For the CIOG, we know that it is one of the few grants that provides operating assistance to these organizations. And based on the review we've done with CIOG, we don't believe that there are other operating grants available to these organizations. In terms of grants from other jurisdictions, so provincial and nationally, we know that some of our granting, some of the agencies that receive funding through FCSS will also receive funding from other funding sources. Fortunately or unfortunately, that is how most programs are run in the nonprofit sector, is through grants from different granting agencies. Judy, do you want to add to that?
Just one of the things I'll mention, Councillor Banga, is especially for FCSS, it's for specific pieces of work around prevention. So we're funding the program, not the organization's operations, but we're funding the expenses of the program that we need. And through that program, we're not allowed to fund things that are funded by other ministries. So there's a distinction between that funding. And as Nancy said, there may be some overlap with operating grants, but our grants are for specific purposes. And the CIOG, for example, the maximum grant was $16,500 this past year. So it's not huge amounts, and we're spreading it across.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Banga. Next is Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, I wanted to explore a little bit about the CIOG grants, because I think the motion came out of council because the original proposal was to cut them entirely. I'd be interested to know, we didn't get a chance to ask you guys at the time about that, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that and their relative importance. Understanding there may be some that are more critical than others, but whether or not you had a chance to talk about that larger issue of the importance of the grants, and understanding that it's not just about social, it's their own recreation organization grants and all those kind of things as well. So I just was curious to know what the board had thought about that piece.
Thank you for the question. We've had a lot of, understandably, given the direction to review CIOG, we've had a lot of discussion about the importance of operating funding and operating grants to these different organizations. And what we've learned is that there's limited access to operating grants for these organizations. What's been interesting about the CIOG review is aligning it with the outcomes provides an opportunity to shift what is the organizations that are funded and try and shift towards the outcomes that are trying to be achieved by the city. And so that's the direction that the CIOG grants will move towards. So it will still be operating funding or operating grant fundamentally, and still be supporting sport and active recreation, as well as social services agencies. But it will seek to ensure their work is aligned with the city social development outcomes. So I don't know if that completely answers.
Yeah, I guess maybe knowing the history of this way back, because this used to include all the grants that were, so that it used to include arts, but that was all handled by the Arts Council, and not something I regret, but we've been far more generous, I think, with the pot of money that is going out to arts organizations, and we have never been years since we topped this up. The Sports Council opted not to go into the granting business, and as a result, all of the sports groups are being dealt with, I would argue, in a different kind of way. And I just, that's the history of it. So I'm just curious to know how that aligns with, work that clearly they're doing on the city's behalf, where we're leveraging some substantial amounts of money with the small amount we put in, and if that's part of the factor of what you're looking at.
We've just been starting to delve into that financial side of the CIOG. So I can't answer your question right now, but we have started to look at, right now within the policy, there's a $2 million cutoff. So you can't have over $2 million in operating expenses. And so what we've been trying to understand is, if you're an organization that is, right now we don't have any organizations that have operating expenses of 2 million that apply. It appears the highest number is about 1.2, 1.3. So if you're $1.3 million in operating and you get $16,500, your point, what we're trying to find that, where is that sweet spot of where the operating grant really leverages the organizations in what they're doing.
Yeah,
so we can't answer your question, but it is.
No, I don't expect you to answer the question. We just didn't get a chance to ask you at the time, which is why I wanted to grab this chance.
It's absolutely on the radar of the discussions that we're currently having. So glad to see we're on track with trying to get at those answers.
Yeah. And then really quickly before I run out of time, again, FCSS is also something that's been oversubscribed for years. And I know that's, some of our money and a lot of it's provincial money. Just where are we at with that in terms of demand versus supply, in terms of the resources we have? It'd be useful to know how overstretched are we in that program?
I don't know that I can answer that. I might have to defer that to you, Judy. But I'm going to say we're always stretched. But Judy, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do now, Councillor Henderson, is in building a new framework, is to really look at where our priorities should be and where we can have the most impact in community. So building that, we're hoping to be more focused in our funding rather than trying to spread this money all across everything, to be more focused and be more intentional and impactful. And we're getting through that system. It'll be going to CSAB soon, and once we're through that, we'll meet with all the councillors just to ensure everyone understands where we're going and why we're doing that. It'll be all evidence-based.
Okay. I have one other quick question, but I'll come back on that just as a follow-up to that, but I'll wait my turn.
Thank you. Councillor Essinger, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And I'll just follow up with that. I understand, or I think the FCSS funding has been stable the last few years. Is that correct? But the demand is greater than it's ever been, I imagine, since the pandemic has started.
I think the demand has changed, Councillor, differently, right? So it's been a progression where there's some different issues that may not be under FCSS as much that have been highlighted. So I would say the social issues have increased. We'd have to do a bit more work to see if they would all fall under a preventive kind of lens, though.
So I'm wondering how nonprofits are doing then. I'm not sure if they've all, we've heard of some businesses that have closed. I wondered if you have any sense about nonprofits, how they're doing through the pandemic. They can't do fundraising, they can't do some of their traditional things.
I'll maybe start, Judy, and you can dive in because you probably have a better sense than I do. But the province was very open to adjusting their direction during COVID. So there was an ability for some of these nonprofit organizations to shift some of their focus during COVID to deal with immediate crises. And so I think that piece was really helpful for the nonprofit organizations as they quite honestly had to shift their delivery models on the fly. In terms of their finances, I don't know that I can speak to that, Judy. Maybe you can and add to the comment about the shift of how they could use their funding.
Sure, I think you're correct, Councillor. I think a lot of the groups are struggling just because of fundraising efforts, but we have seen some great innovative solutions to things, that working together in partnership and finding ways to do the best they can with what they have. And as Nancy said, the provincial government, the Ministry of Community and Social Service was very great at letting us allow programs to adapt so the funding could go where it was needed, and also lifted the regulation against the purchase of food, because that's a basic necessity that's not part of FCSS, allowed that. So there was some help with some of those things, but I haven't heard of anyone that's shutting down or anything yet, but I think you're right. There's groups struggling.
Thank you. It's great to hear their flexibility to meet the needs that have been arising. My last question is about the CIOG grant. And I'm wondering if, as you're reviewing it, are you looking at organizations that do duplicate services? Sometimes you see and they look very similar. Is that one of the things you look at when you're determining grants?
I don't know that we have looked at that to this point. There are similar organizations that are funded through, and I can say specifically, or I can't say specifically, but more likely on the sports and recreation side of CIOG, where you might have multiple organizations that deliver the same sporting activity, but it might be to different age groups or different areas of the city. And so we haven't looked at that as a deciding factor because ultimately the reimagine of the CIOG is really looking at increasing access and reducing social isolation. And so with those things in mind, having similar groups spaced out across the city might actually help us achieve some of those outcomes. Judy, did I get those outcomes right?
Yes, social inclusion and accessibility, yes. And you're correct, no, we don't consider that because of it's an operating grant that's formula-based.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And Councillor Henderson, on the second round, I do, strictly speaking, need a motion unless we want to suspend some orders, but the easiest way to do it is probably a motion. Someone want to move the second round for Councillor Henderson?
So moved.
And anyone else who wants it? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Zadig. Just seek unanimous consent. Any objections to a second round? No? All right, then go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up. With the rethink of FCSS, I just wanted to double check that that's still going to line up with the poverty elimination strategy and the EP work, because if those start diverging again, I think that would be I just wanted to, it's really just to check in to make sure that's still one of the lenses we'll be using.
Judy, do you want
Poverty.
to?
Yes, poverty is still one of the lenses we're using.
Okay, and actually you, but lining up with the strategy and the work that EP is doing, because I think otherwise we could have two different groups running in two different directions. That's all.
Yeah, we're starting to have more discussions with EPE again around the direction they're going, because I think they're adjusting their direction. So
No,
yeah.
fair enough. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. AP was set up so we could all be on the same page. So I just want to make sure we're not accidentally getting off that again. Great, thanks.
Yeah,
That was my only question. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Zuck? And
I'll move the recommendation.
thank you, Councillor Banga. Seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Zanuck. If there's nothing further, let's vote on receipt of information of 6.2.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'm a yes too, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Walters. And Councillor Paquette, are you still there?
I am.
We have had to drop off.
You're a yes, thank you.
Cool.
I'll be dropping off in about 10 minutes.
Okay, coming up.
We have all
All right.
the votes, Mr. Chair.
Display the vote then, please. That's carried. Thank you. Next up, the right screen here is the naming committee. Aaron McDonald, the vice chair, is here to present to us. Aaron, are you with us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron McDonald, and I am the vice chair of Edmonton's naming committee. I'm here tonight to present to you the 2019 and 2020 consolidated annual report for the activities of the naming committee. As you may already be aware, the Edmonton Naming Committee is a decision-making body of the City Council. And our primary function is the naming of development areas, parks, municipal facilities, roads, and other City of Edmonton assets. Our goal is that approved names recognize and commemorate noteworthy persons associated with Edmonton, reflect Edmonton's heritage, as well as the flora, fauna, and natural features within Edmonton. Some highlights from 2019 and 2020 I'd like to share are simply the volume of approvals that we managed through the volunteer naming committee. Specifically, we moved through the process, which I will elaborate on in a few moments, naming the 12 municipal wards. We provided 5 neighborhood names, 14 parks, ponds, and lookouts, 3 municipal facilities, 2 LRT stations, 4 honorary road names, and 19 individual road names. Some of our largest highlights were the aforementioned Indigenous Ward Name Project. And at the request of City Council, the Edmonton Naming Committee supported a process through which individual members of Indigenous communities from across Alberta participated in the gifting of Indigenous word names for our city. The subcommittee formed was named Inuit Iskwak Witwahin, which is the Committee of Indigenous Matriarchs. This committee featured 17 women from First Nations in treaties 6, 7, and 8, as well as Métis and Inuit representatives. They represent Anishinaabe, Blackfoot, Cree, Dene, Inuit, Iroquois, the Michel Band, Métis, and Sioux Nations. This group of women gifted the Indigenous ward names for 12 new municipal wards to honor sacred places in Edmonton and to preserve the history for future generations. In addition, we partnered with Enoch Cree Nation to recommend a name for the LRT municipal facility, which will be located within Lewis Farms Transit Center. Lewis Farms area was traditionally the historic traditional territory of the Enoch Cree Nation. The naming committee accepted the gifted name Amiskwasset Kamit, which is the Cree name of the Enoch Cree Nation band member who farmed that land. Amisquisset commit translates to Beaver's Foot building. We also completed the process for the naming of the Dakota area neighborhoods. And through this, we participated with the administration's ecological planners within the Biodiversity and Natural Areas group, as well as other notable environmentalists from the University of Alberta and Sierra Club of Canada to help identify significant geographic features within the Dakota area. We were pleased to approve the recommended name of Alces, which is Latin for moose for North Dakota, Meltwater, which is the theme of wetlands for Northwest Dakota, Dakota in honor of Alex Dakota for Central Dakota, Snowberry in commemoration of plants in Southwest Dakota, and Kettle Lakes in commemoration of the geographic features in the southeast quadrant of the Dakota area. We also named several large municipal parks, which include Jan Reimer Park, Cease Purvis Park, and Brian Anderson Athletic Grounds. In terms of our future planning, in 2021, the Naming Committee continues a thoughtful and holistic review of City Policy C509B in order to ensure that it accurately reflects Edmonton's diverse and inclusive community values. The review that we've undertaken will include language that supports a focus on Indigenous place names after consultation with Indigenous leaders and knowledge keepers. The revised city policy is planned to go to City Council for review and approval in August 2021. The Naming Committee will also be participating in the River Valley Alliance's initiative to name one continuous trail from the town of Devon through the city of Edmonton and up to the city of Fort Saskatchewan. This 100-kilometer trail name will ensure the trail is seen as a single, unified, marketable entity and enhance the North Saskatchewan River Valley Park system with world-class recreation and as a natural park attraction. We have been very busy during these 2 years, and the COVID pandemic has not held us back from achieving our objectives. I thank you for your time today and welcome your questions. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, Erin. That's a great report. Picks up so many things we've been working on for a long, long time. So thank you for that summary. Questions on the Naming Committee report?
Mr. Mayor, I can't click on quick enough.
Oh, Councillor McKean, go ahead.
Yeah, and Erin, I don't really have a question, to be honest, but getting to know you at the historical board and now seeing you rising to these heights, it's nice to see. And I just want to say, I know you and you do fantastic work. So thanks to all of you on the Naming Committee. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
You want to move the recommendation?
Right after Councillor Banga.
Oh, yes, indeed. Okay, I'll go to him next for questions. Go ahead, Councillor Banga.
Thank you. Again, appreciate all the work you've been doing, Ms. McDonald, and I just have only one question. Ward naming. Could you tell me what your role was in ward naming, I guess, the whole process?
Certainly, I'll do my best to briefly outline the process. Initially, City Administration had provided the Naming Committee with 12 recommended names, and we moved those forward to City Council. I believe it was in summer of 2020. At that time, City Council made a motion to return the names to the Naming Committee for the commissioning of a relationship with Indigenous knowledge keepers in order to create a more inclusive process for the naming of the wards. At that time, there were two individuals, Rob Houle and Tammy, and I cannot remember her last name, who were brought on board at the recommendation of the Indigenous community to lead the process. From there, those two leaders formed a subcommittee of the naming committee, which brought together the 17 women from a diverse collection of Indigenous groups. The naming committee, myself as an individual, but other members as well of the naming committee, participated in each meeting of those elders. We were witness to the process and there as allies and supporters. Our role was primarily to receive the names and to honor the elders as recipients of the gifts. That said, the naming committee was a participant throughout the process and were honored to receive the name in gift and understand that each of these names has a specific important significance to the Indigenous communities from which they came. And we supported the use of these names as appropriate for the ward naming process. They would have come through a motion through the naming committee board or the naming committee itself, and we would have presented those to City Council as the naming committee approved ward names.
Okay, so to name a certain area or certain road, even certain street, I guess, what is the initiation process? If I can ask you that.
I apologize, Councillor Banga. My connection cut out as you were asking that question. Could you repeat?
So if an individual group was to suggest or request a name for a certain place or road, or what would be the procedure to do it?
For requesting a specific name for a road or other civic facility, there is an application through which an individual, any member of the community from Edmonton can submit a name request. And those name requests can be to use a specific name of a specific individual for a specific asset, or they can recommend a name for inclusion on the names reserve list. Usually what happens is an individual will have a concept. In the case of the Jan Reimer or Brian Anderson Athletic Park, someone will propose a facility or city asset for use of that name. The Edmonton Naming Committee then undertakes rigorous research to ensure alignment with the values of the city and to hopefully prevent future concern with the use of a name. However, we know that as time passes, people can change. And so we are seeking a renaming process as well through the revision of our policy. And usually any individual member can recommend a name. So we always encourage, if there's somebody you wish to commemorate in your community, that that name be submitted to the naming committee, even if you don't have an asset in mind, that can be added to the names reserve list for the future use. Often developers come to us asking for suggestion names, and we refer back to that names reserve list consistently.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. McDonald? Not seeing any, then Councillor McKee.
Mr. Mayor, I will move receipt of this report and I will name it after Aaron McDonald. Thank you.
Second.
So that the May 5th, 2021 Office of the City Manager report, Aaron McDonald, be received for information. That's your motion?
It is, yeah.
Also known as CR 8085. We got a real way with naming stuff. This is why we need a committee, actually. So, all right. If there's no further debate, then with gratitude to Aaron for the report, we can vote on receipt of information.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, both of you. Mr. Mayor, we have all the votes except for yours.
I am in the affirmative.
Thank you.
My thing resets somehow. So please display the vote then. Carried. Okay. Because I want what Brian's having there. So next up is the Edmonton Design Committee, Janice Mills and Wes Sims.
Yes.
Welcome.
So, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I am Janice Mills. I am the current chair of the Edmonton Design Committee. For simplicity, I will refer to the committee as EDC. We also have Wes Sims in attendance. Wes was the chair in 2019 to 2020 term and is now a past member of the EDC since April of 2021. He also, he maxed out serving the maximum consecutive term of 6 years. Next slide. So, in the past 2 years, EDC continues to accept submissions and provides recommendations on development permit applications and comprehensive rezoning applications. This includes direct control provisions, special area zonings, and major commercial corridor overlays, and any other developments with potential major design impacts within the established EDC boundaries. Next slide. So to summarize our membership over the past 2 years, we had no membership turnover between the 2019-2020 term. Between the 2020 term and our current term that just commenced, the 3 highlighted parties have left the committee. Karma was representing APEGA, Brian was representing AALA, the Landscape Association, and Wes Sims was representing the AAA, so architecture. Moving into the 2021-2022 term, we are anticipating 3 members to be leaving. So Svetlana, who is a AAA member, Yanish, who is with the Planning Institute, and Marcelo, who is currently sitting in a citizen at large position, but he is also a registered planner. As noted in our report to council, there is currently only 1 designated planner position available on the committee. We currently and conveniently have our citizen at large position and are using that to include another planner on the team. As the nature of the EDC submissions has evolved over the past 5 years, we are currently seeing a growing number of rezoning submissions coming to the committee. With this, we recommend having and adding another planner to the committee. Having 2 planners on the committee would help ensure that there is always one available for the committee meetings. As the current City Council public hearing schedule is changed to Tuesday, it sometimes makes scheduling difficult and a conflict with the current EDC scheduled meetings. Also, having a second planner would add a greater planning perspective to the composition of the committee. Next slide. So to summarize 2019 to 2020, we held 22 meetings total with a total of 75 presentations. Of those presentations, 53 were formal submissions, 41 of which received positive support and recommendations from the committee. Also in 2019-20, we held a strategic planning retreat to gain alignment between the committee members and to inform our annual work plan. Out of that, the outcome was the formation of a subcommittee to advise on potential bylaw revisions and to review and revise any policies and procedures related to that. We also initiated an internship program through the University of Alberta. Currently, we have had, I believe, 3, Wes can correct me if I'm wrong, 3 interns volunteer time towards the committee. Part of this is just to foster a relationship and to broaden the education of our upcoming professionals in this development world. Next slide. 2020 to 2021 highlights, we still maintained a large number of meetings. As everyone did, our committee had to transition to virtual meetings due to COVID. Due to COVID, we did pause our intern program. We also paused the annual council luncheon that we had been doing previously. So out of the 23 meetings, there was 52 presentations, of which 42 were formals. Out of those 42 formals, 35 received positive support and recommendations from the committee. The subcommittee that was formed continued their work with the policies and procedures review, including a draft report and draft procedures. In this current year, as we noted, we have turned over 3 members, and they just actually experienced their first meeting yesterday. Next slide. In the upcoming year, we are going to work on onboarding our 3 new committee members. It's a little bit difficult just based on the virtual platform, so it definitely will be a learning curve. We are currently reviewing our membership and recruitment with the upcoming turnover of a citizen at large, a AAA member, and an APPI member. We want to be prepared and aligned at the end of this term. We are also working on implementing the new procedures that will come out of the subcommittee aiming end of summer. And we are starting to work on the actual bylaw revisions. We have noted here that there may be a possible geographical boundary change. This is not forecasted to happen immediately, but that boundary change would to be aligned the geographical boundary with the new city plan nodes and corridors. We are looking to continue and resume our outreach and our advocacy activities, including the internship program. Next slide. So just to summarize the subcommittee work in regards to the policies and procedures, the main outcomes is to make clearer procedures, roles, and responsibilities for the committee members, a clearer mandate and scope for not only the committee members, but for the applicants, clearer expectations for the committee's recommendations and their use and impact, improve position descriptions to aid in the upcoming recruitment, and improve member evaluation. So just making sure that we are closing the feedback loop with our committee members. So with that, thank you for your continued support and your time this evening, and we will answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Mills or Mr. Sims? Not seeing any. Then
All right, I do have one. I was having trouble getting to the right place to click on. I'm interested in hearing more about the change in the geographical boundaries and what you're thinking there.
So as I noted, the committee hasn't delved into any outreach or information in regards to that. It has been highlighted after the city plan was presented to the overall EDC committee that there should be future alignment with city plan with the nodes and corridors. So unfortunately, I don't think we can elaborate too much on it, but we did want to highlight it on your radar that eventually we are forecasting that it will happen.
Yeah, it makes sense. It feels like it would be a significant increase in your workload. Am I wrong about that?
So I don't know if Wes has anything to add to that.
No, Ben, you've hit it right on. Yeah, it's one of our concerns, and we haven't delved into this, and it's forthcoming, and we're going to try to figure out, what the future geographic boundaries are. But it also means we don't want to triple the amount of projects that come to EDC because we're full loaded up right now. So it's not a problem, but it's an issue that we're just starting to discuss internally and with our subcommittee, and how are we going to do this? And, you know, recladding a 7-Eleven is not a big issue, but, you know, a high-rise building in a TOD site is something else. So, you know, I think there's going to be an evolution of what starts to come to EDC, and it's not just boundaries, but it's also what types and size and scope of projects. So it's a balancing act that I think is going to happen in the next year or two, where we try to keep the workload, because we've discussed it offline and said, you know, if we do this, we're going to need 2 EDCs, and we don't want that. So we're trying to balance and look forward to how we can, you know, better utilize EDC in terms of which projects are more appropriate and which aren't. You know, currently and in the past 10 years, I think there's some projects a lot of us could agree that didn't really have to come to EDC. So there could be a shedding of some of that stuff and then inboarding some of the other stuff. So it's a good question, because it's on our minds. Yeah. Thank you.
I just thought I'd ask, because I think it's a fabulous idea. I mean, I love the idea of it. If it's possible to do, I would be enthusiastic, but I just thought I should ask, knowing some of the issues that have popped up for you guys in terms of capacity before.
Yes, and as part of our current policy and procedures and the work that we've done on the bylaw amendment so far, like Wes alluded to, we have been focusing on the mechanisms to eliminate some of the projects that most likely should not be coming before the committee. So whether that is the formation of a subcommittee that gets it through quicker, etc., we're exploring that. So when the revised bylaw amendment and the updated policies and procedures come before council, that piece will at least be worked through.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Henderson, would you care to move the?
Yeah, I'd be happy to move the recommendation or the report, receipt of report.
Great. Seconded by Councillor Banga. Not seeing any other comments. Then, with our thanks to the design committee, who made a huge impact over the years now, and in both public projects and private projects in your domain. So I just wanted to say thank you. And the Urban Design Awards and other things have been so much fun over the years, and just thanks all for your leadership. Please pass along my personal gratitude to your fellow committee members for their leadership.
Thank you.
Please vote.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Katarina. And we have all the votes except for yours, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, it's validating my something or other right now. So, here it is.
Thank you.
You should have it now.
You can display.
I'm a yay. All right. That's carried unanimously as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Next up is the Energy Transition Climate Resilience Committee. Shafraz Kaba, our co-chair, with Camille Jasper Fabi. Welcome. Go ahead. We've kept you guys very busy the last little while, so it's good. I think we're well briefed, but anything else you want to focus on tonight, we're all ears.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. It's my pleasure to be here with Camille to present the 2 years of our annual reports. As you know, the Edmonton Energy Transition and Climate Resilience Committee was first created out of the Community Energy Transition Strategy way back in 2015. And recently, our work has been to see the new version of that document pass again on April 19, 2021, which of course only happened a couple of weeks ago. So happy to see that moving forward. Our committee's mandate was expanded a couple years ago as well to include work on the Climate Resilient Edmonton Adaptation Strategy and Action Plan. So we are very busy and we are very grateful to have this opportunity to work on probably, in my mind, some of the most important issues that our city is dealing with, which is the climate emergency. So we are really working on the urgent action to help Edmonton align with the 1.5 degree carbon budget and Paris Agreement. And we are taking cues from the Edmonton Declaration and are hopeful that the city can follow through on many of the recommendations we make as a committee. Our committee also hopes that all decisions are climate decisions, and we need to incorporate those climate impacts from both mitigation and adaptation perspectives in our decision making. As you've heard at many of our briefings and presentations, we need to really move very quickly to make the carbon budgeting and accounting a bigger part of our actions and decisions going forward. We really believe that along with the COVID-19 pandemic and our economic kind of crisis, the climate emergency can bundle all of those things into sort of creating resilient, mitigating solutions that can tackle all three together. Just recently, Camille and I were delighted to meet with the new city manager and are pretty hopeful that a cultural shift will be happening at the city to allow for that carbon budgeting and accounting, and will ensure we make great progress towards our 1.5 goals. Before I hand it over to Camille, I'd just like to say this is my last year on the Climate Resilient Committee, and on behalf of our 15 members, we are really grateful to be able to continue seeing Edmonton as a climate leader. And I'll let Camille speak to our work going forward.
Thanks, Shipraz. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Cool. Well, I guess we're lucky, councillors, that we don't need to convince you. We're so lucky to be advising a council that really understands the urgency of climate action. And you've signaled that understanding again and again through approval of the original energy transition strategy, through the Edmonton Declaration, the declaration of a climate emergency, and most recently through the approval of the updated energy transition strategy and action plan aligning to 1.5 degrees with a vote of 12-1. So just such strong support across council. And we know that you share our understanding of climate action as being at its core about prosperity and security and health and well-being. I liked President Biden recently said, when I think about climate change, I think jobs. And I think that's how this council sees climate action as well. We know that the government of Canada has a goal that clean technology is one of Canada's top 5 exporting industries by 2025. So there's just so much potential here. And we know that at its core, it's really an economic plan and a key to a secure and prosperous future. But we also know that financing this work is going to be an incredible undertaking, requiring supports from all levels of government and business community, with investment of approximately $42 billion over the next 30 years. So our committee is really committed to helping the city, figure out how to do this right, how to get it right, how to do it efficiently and effectively. And that's really the focus. In our 2018 annual report, just to kind of provide some context, we provided 3 key recommendations, and they really centered around the carbon budget, all 3 of them: to establish a carbon budget, to put carbon in the budget, to fully integrate climate action and the carbon budget into all aspects of the city's work, particularly the city plan. So we were so excited to see that the updated energy transition strategy and action plan have a carbon accounting framework built in. So it's happening, and we're just really enthusiastic about helping the city think through how that's going to work. It has to be a shared accountability. Shifra spoke to, a recent conversation that we had with the city manager about how do we really push a culture shift to where everyone at the city who's making decisions sees it as a personal accountability. We don't want this carbon accounting framework to become just another administrative procedure, because that's not going to get the results. So that's really going to be the focus going forward, as well as just immediate action. We've done a lot of planning. It's enough planning. Let's focus on action. So the energy transition plan strategy has quick wins and big wins that have been identified. So we just really need to focus on those actions that are going to be immediate and deep and impactful. And then the focus really for our committee is on developing metrics, and that's in our bylaw. And so that really will be a focus going forward, is ensuring that metrics are established, and working with administration on embedding those metrics into city departments. And then just kind of receiving and providing feedback on annual performance assessment and reporting. Another priority going forward is aligning the COVID-19 recovery and the economic recovery with climate change efforts. So really finding ways of approaching all three of those issues together. And we also recently had added to our mandate a just and equitable transition. So that's something that we have knowledge of on our committee. And we really welcome council and administration to tap into some of that knowledge that we have on the committee in terms of how to ensure that the transition doesn't exacerbate social inequalities and vulnerabilities. And so I kind of just want to end by noting, just the incredible expertise that we have across the committee of 15 members who each bring, just many, many years of expertise and experience, and we're happy to advise administration and to advise council to really tap into that expertise. So thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight.
Fine, thanks to both of you for your comments and for your tireless effort to inform us about how to do this well. So appreciate that. Councillor Walters, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Camille and Fraz, thanks for everything that you and your committee are doing. I think we're very blessed in our city to have such a talented group of people led by you two in particular, advising council. It's been one of the honors of my 8 years to be near you and learn from you and watch your passion. So thanks. I did have just a couple questions. You can both comment in terms of the jobs and economic focus of our overall climate work. How do we take advantage of what I think is a good and growing cohort in our corporate climate leaders community? I've been sort of banging that drum a lot lately because I think our administration is working really hard to develop that, but I don't think we fully, kind of lifted them into the bright light of leadership. They are taking leadership, but we're not really showing them off as much as we should. So I wanted to ask you about how you think this committee could work with that cohort more effectively to start to really tell the tale and show the pathway that we need to walk in terms of job creation, clean technology, et cetera. Long-winded question. It's late in the day.
Well, I appreciate the question. I believe it's one that we hear a lot about people in our city not tooting their own horn enough. I think really we have to get a little bit better at celebrating the amazing things that our corporate climate leaders are doing to not just our city itself, but even nationally and beyond. Like we have some of the, well, obviously the Edmonton Declaration to stand behind us. We have to promote MacEwan University's use of ISO 50001 energy management protocols. Like, that's the only university I know of that does that across the entire country. So I think corporate climate leaders can maybe help create press opportunities or show some of these case studies more actively and really across the different communities that can take advantage of it. So really it comes down to not being afraid to really promote and be a little bit more in the limelight.
So, Camille, as you carry on, thankfully, when we think about an enhanced relationship between your committee and the corporate climate leaders group, and even our ECDEV agencies, Edmonton Global, it's got a significant emphasis on ESG, or Innovate Edmonton in terms of the role in clean tech. Those are organizations funded by the city council that you're advising. So a more collaborative relationship or productive relationship may be useful. I just wonder if that's something you see as important in terms of how you spend your time in the next few years.
I do think that does sound important. I think it's a similar issue that faces the city in terms of how do we get results? Like, we've been talking about this for a long time. We've been thinking about it for a long time. We've been paying attention to it for a long time, but the results aren't coming as fast as they need to. I was listening to a podcast today about ESG and its ineffectiveness, really, in driving like real mitigation results. And companies can do a lot of things that sound nice and are good for social license and look good on paper, but I think we have to really focus on the results. Where are we going to get the most bang for our buck? And that's somewhere that I think the committee has expertise. This committee is really good at cutting through the. I'm trying to think of the word that's appropriate to use. Cutting through the noise, cutting through the noise and getting straight to the point and being able to say, yeah, that sounds nice, but it's not really effective, versus this is where we need to put our money. This is where we need to put our focus. This is where we're going to get the results. Right. So I think that's somewhere that the expertise of the committee could really be tapped into.
Okay. Well, I just think that, general collaboration and less silo conversations, and I'm not suggesting anything, bad about that. You guys have been doing a great job. There are a lot of podcasts that talk about how effective ESG can be that I've heard in terms of climate stress testing and scenarios that companies have taken on. So I do think that's, those are worthwhile conversations. But nonetheless, I with no other speakers on the list, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to move receipt of information.
Super. Seconder?
Second.
Councillor McKean got there first. So seeing nothing further, please vote on receipt of information of the Energy Transition Climate Resilience Advisory Committee report.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Caterina. Thank you. We have all the votes.
Display the vote. Carried unanimously. All right. Last but not least, the Edmonton Salutes Committee, and Chair Brian Hodgson is with us, and the floor is yours, sir.
Your Worship, councillors, many thanks. What does Edmonton Salutes do? Promotes and recognizes our local military community, regular and reserve, and its contributions both at home and abroad toward world peace, security, and stability, and reinforces the message that military families, veterans and their families, are valued members of the Edmonton Capital Region. And I can tell you that the regular forces in Canada see Edmonton as probably the best garrison city in Canada, and that's a compliment to many. Background, there hasn't been a report to you folks since 2018. The Edmonton Salutes Committee was put on hiatus at the end of November 2019. We have completed a governance review, and the committee resumed its operations in September of last year in virtual manner, with the authors of the review, the consultant's strategic steps, given the mandate to activate recommendations in the review. So highlights from 2019 showed a year of activity with 3 Freedom of the City parades, a much appreciated delegation that traveled to do a day sail with the then Lieutenant Governor Lois Mitchell on our namesake ship HMCS Edmonton and attend their change of command ceremony. We then hosted a 10-person delegation from HMCS Edmonton in the fall of 2019. And we also had good representation at the Edmonton International Airport to welcome home service personnel from the Edmonton Garrison, and that's one of the favorite activities of the Edmonton Salutes Committee. For the year 2020, work progressed on the governance review and bylaw updates, and the committee was recalled for their first meeting of the year in September, and I was elected chair of Edmonton Salutes in the following month. Subsequently, several meetings and much hard work throughout November produced our Edmonton Salutes strategic plan. The committee was also able to grant funds to 2 organizations at the end of 2020, including $750 to the Veterans Food Bank and $1,000 to the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry Association to assist in the replacing of 3 stolen brass plaques in the memorial cairn at Griesbaugh Village. The Edmonton Salutes Committee engaged in an in-depth review of governance and bylaws in the aim of laying a solid foundation by which the committee can better fulfill its mandate. In this governance model, it will now align with the City of Edmonton policies and procedures like other committees of council, which the committee members have indicated they very much appreciate. In addition, a number of subcommittees have been formed, including bylaw and policy, funding, strategic plan initiatives, honors and awards, and membership and orientation. They have all had initial meetings with solid work plans being produced in each. And as chair, I sit on and participate in all subcommittee meetings. There is work underway for a policy manual that will reflect much of the work that supports the bylaw, including terms of reference for subcommittees, membership, orientation, skills matrix for potential members, and other policy pieces the subcommittees produce to support their work. The Strategic Plans Initiative Subcommittee has identified their first project from the many goals generated from the main committee, and there is work underway for a greater social media presence to support efforts already underway within Canadian Forces Base, Edmonton. Increased engagement is being planned for the local serving military, regular and reserve, as well as veterans and our surrounding community partners, all following AHS COVID guidelines. Currently, we are working with the Office of the Clerk on an annual membership recruitment on Edmonton Salutes Committee. While appreciating the financial constraints the city faces, I've observed that the support provided by the city for ESC, and it's clear that the resources are not actually going to meet the needs of the committee once the consultants have left. The long-serving city administrator for the committee left the employ of the city in late 2020, and she had a position to ensure the smooth and efficient operations of the committee and oversee all related events. That's now being done on a part-time basis by the city staff, and Judy Wilson fulfills that role. And of course, because she is, in essence, the chief of protocol, she has many other responsibilities. That ends my presentation, and I would invite any questions if there are any.
Well, thank you, Brian, and it's good to see you. Councillor Zavic, go ahead.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for all your good work. It's good to. I've enjoyed working with you as you've assumed the chair role. Just for, sorry, my daughter's here. My wife's getting her COVID shot at the moment, so I'm a bit distracted. With So the governance work was completed, and we made a recommendation to Edmonton City Council. It's not lost on me that I'm a member of Edmonton City Council, but the bylaw we passed wasn't 100% reflective of what the committee wanted. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, conveniently, I have a subsequent motion after we hopefully receive your report here for information. I'll start the procedural process to get that correction in place. No more questions, but thanks for your time, Brian.
Thank you, John.
Any other questions for Mr. Hodgson? There we go, John. That's better. Baby cam. Councillor McKean?
Brian, I may not see you on our regular date every year. So I just want to say thank you for all you've done for the city and the military. But I'm wondering, are you wearing a kilt?
I am not wearing a kilt, Councillor. Actually, beneath this blazer regimental tie, I'm wearing my pajama bottoms, actually.
I suspected there would be something. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, and as they say, thank you for your service, even in pajamas. So, and please pass our thanks to all the members of Edmonton Salutes for the critical work that you do to maintain and augment this place. And I've had so many active and retired members of the forces reflect on their sense of welcome here in Edmonton, but that absolutely would not be the case without Salutes. You do phenomenal work, and it has helped us attract and retain some of the best and brightest. I think it probably helped us keep our city manager in Edmonton. So it's working out nicely for us. So that's how critical this work is, how much we value it, and personally, my thanks and appreciation to you and the committee members for your efforts.
Thanks for your kind words, Your Worship, and I'll pass that on to the members of the committee for sure.
Thank you. Councillor Zadek, did you want to make your motion in lieu of receipt of information, or do you want to do receipt of information and then subsequent?
I think receipt of information first. I talked with Mr. Clerk here, and I think that's what he indicated his preference was.
Okay, then let's, I'll take that motion.
So receipt of information, yeah.
That's that. Any questions or anyone wishing to speak on receipt of information?
Mr. Chair, may I ask who seconded the motion?
I did.
Thank you.
Just to keep things, fresh. Got to get in there fast, apparently. Please vote on receipt of information.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Katarina.
Do we track seconds in the open data catalog or something? Is there a race going, or? No?
Yes, we do track seconds.
I hope we never do.
Yeah. We have all the votes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, that would be a metric I could do without seeing the outcome of display the vote. That's scary. Okay. Well, I'm ahead here. Councillor Zadek with the subsequent to tidy up the bylaw.
Yeah, to tidy it up, a little bit of reading here. So it's that bylaw 19108, Edmonton Salutes Committee bylaw, be amended by striking out A and inserting B in the following. 8.1, Edmonton Salutes must appoint a chair and vice chair from the membership appointed pursuant to subsection 6A-I, so that it reads 8.1, Edmonton Salutes must appoint a chair and vice chair from the members appointed pursuant to subsection 6B to I. And hopefully that's on the screen. Okay, it's on the screen there. The most annoying toy in the world is being triggered here by my daughter. But just quickly, this is, oh, who wants to second it?
Second.
All right. This is, as I said, just to clean up, I guess there was, I don't know if it was clerical error or what, but however it got translated from what the committee wanted to what we passed as a council, some stuff got sorry, I can't even speak right now, missed. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Not seeing any. then unless anyone else wishes to speak, I think we can vote on the motion here.
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Councillor Katarina.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Zadig. You may have voted, but we haven't received the results. Councillors Esslinger, Hamilton, and Walters, please.
I'm a yes.
Thank you.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Esslinger. We have all the votes, Mr. Chair.
Display the vote. Carried. Excellent. So I think that concludes our work tonight with the advisory boards and agencies and committees. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We're scheduled till 9:30, but we are not going to do that to ourselves. So let's leave it here.
Please say it ain't so.
Leave it here for the night. And but I should ask for notices of motion if there are any this evening. Going twice. Hearing none, then this meeting is adjourned with thanks to everyone. Have a good night.
See y'all tomorrow.